In this demo, I want to quickly talk about SUBD. So SUBD is a little bit complicated to explain, but a very simplified way to break it down would be to talk about freeform modeling. So you probably saw the tutorial for the rubber duck, where essentially you would create a sphere and you would rebuild it. So I will type in rebuild just to show you what you typically do when you're creating a freeform, using the freeform modeling approach. And so you would make sure that the degrees are 3 degrees so that this sphere becomes a deformable object. Also, one thing to note is it does not have to be a sphere. It could be a surface, it could be a revolved shape, it can be anything you want it to be. But the idea is you rebuild a surface, a NURBS surface, using 3 degrees, or you can also use 4 or 5, however many degrees you want to use. Just make sure it's not a degree 2, because degree 2 is not a deformable surface type. And that relates to the mathematics of what it means to use degree 2 or degree 3. And of course, degree 1 is a facet. There is no curvature when you use degree 1. So when we do freeform modeling, we would always create a surface, rebuild it so that we are sure that we have degree 3, unless you already know it's a degree 3 surface, which, if you use degree 3 curves, you would get a degree 3 surface. So sometimes you do not have to rebuild your surface. But basically, when we used a freeform modeling approach, we would make sure we have a degree 3 surface. And once we have this surface, we can show the control points, and we can deform this surface using control points, right? So this is freeform because it's not very accurate. We can, get it to be accurate, but typically, when we use freeform modeling, we don't have the same level of accuracy, and in many cases that's fine. So this is freeform modeling, right? We take a NURBS surface and we manipulate it by moving points. In this case, control points. Now, there is another way to do this type of organic shape, and it would be by using mesh. So if we go to the mesh tool, here you have a few primitives. So let me go over the mesh. This is really interesting. So you can do a mesh such as a box, alright, and when you click on a box, it asks you how many points do you want for the X, Y, and Z. So in this case, I have one for each, alright, but let me show you what happens if you do 2. Press enter, 2 for the Y, and 2 for the Z. So if I do another box up here, you can see it creates a total of 4 subdivisions on all of the facets, on all of the sides of this box. So this is interesting because here it gives you an idea of what subdivision would look like. So here you have a square that has no subdivision, and here this is essentially another box which is broken up into more polygons, more mesh subdivision. So this is interesting because when we work with SUBD, we often work with subdivision. And I don't want to get too caught up with the details and talking about topology, how you break up an object to get certain types of objects. But essentially, when you work with polygons, you can 3D print your shape as well. One of the differences between surfaces and polygons, or mesh, is that a mesh is, so here you can see it's flat, so you could do the same thing with NURBS, but if we have something very organic, like let's say we have a sphere, the sphere is, or I should say the quality of the sphere is defined by the number of facets that we use, so the number of polygonal mesh that we have, which means if I make another sphere and I change the number of points, let's see, press enter first, delete this, press enter. So here we can change the vertical and the faces. Let's say we want 10 times as much, so 100 and 100. So now we have another sphere, and this one has a lot more polygons to it, right? More facets. But still, if you get really close to it, you will see that each of them is a straight line. So when we create surfaces, essentially it creates the same kind of mesh, but it does it automatically. So NURBS surfaces in Rhino are typically a little better because they do this automatically. We don't have to define the number, and in this case we will have to subdivide the object, which Rhino doesn't do very well with subdivision, not with mesh at least. It does it very well with surfaces, but when we are trying to increase the quality of a mesh, it can be a little more difficult. So this is important to understand because they work differently. Surfaces and mesh they do not work the same way. So one thing you will see is you can also show the control points for a mesh, which technically they are not control points. These are vertices. They have a different name. And the technical names are not created by the Rhino developers, right? They're words that are used by other softwares. But so here you can see when you pull the mesh, you get this strange kind of shadow. And essentially what it does is it breaks it up into another triangle, right? It's almost like there's a line in between, and here there is a flat shape. Let's see, can we use snap to point? And yeah, let's remove project, snap to this point, snap to this point. So it's almost like you have a triangle here and a triangle there. And that's basically how mesh works. So mesh is essentially always flat. So sometimes if you want something really smooth, mesh is not going to give you the results that you're looking for because it always creates this faceting. Now let's talk about SubD. So what SubD does is it creates smooth continuity between the facets, and it's its own mathematics, right? So mesh is its own thing, NURBS surfaces is its own thing, SubD is also its own thing. They all have their own mathematics, they work differently. Now one thing I should mention too is we are using Rhino 6, and by default the SubD commands are not enabled. If you want these commands to be enabled, you can use the work in progress, the WIP version. So if you paid for a license of Rhino 6, you can download the WIP version, which will have all of these commands. But the main command that we typically use when we use SubD would be subd from mesh. So if you type in this command exactly the way I wrote it, and I will have a command below the video so that you can just copy and paste. But yeah, if you type in subd from mesh and press enter, you will get this subdivision option. Also, you can go to the help, or you can press the F1 key on your keyboard, and this will give you additional information. Apparently my internet is really slow right now, so I can't really see the details, but it should give you more information about not just this command, but other things that you can do with subd. And there's many ways to use subd, but let's just jump straight into it and I can show you how to use this type of modeling. So we will use Chris, yes, actually let's say no for this one, Chris no, and that's it, that's all we're going to do. So in this case we are converting a mesh to a subd object. So let's press enter, and it seems like my settings are not really set up correctly. It's not what I wanted. I wanted to delete the mesh and get this object. But anyway, let's look at the control points. And here you can see the control points of the mesh and the control points of the subd object are the same. So it takes these points and it creates a very smooth form out of the points. So this is also a deformable object. You can pick control points and you can move them around. So this is really nice, right? You can get something extremely smooth, which sometimes is very difficult to do in Rhino. So it's very good for very smooth type of forms, very organic forms. So let's say we want to do a teddy bear of the type of form of a teddy bear. It would be very difficult to do with standard NURBS surfaces, right? But now if we use a bunch of control points, it makes it a little easier. Now one thing I haven't talked about is how do we add points for a mesh, or how do we add points for this type of sub-D object. So let's talk about that, and let's talk about how we can create sharpness between the control points. So first let's look at this object and let's apply the same command. I will go up here, use the right click on the mouse and use the sub-D from mesh command. And here what I wanted to change was delete the input. I want to say yes. Delete the input, press enter, and now it creates this object. So it looks almost like a sphere, right? It's a spherical object. So if you wanted to make a type of sphere, you can also simply make a box using the mesh and click here, let's say I like to use 1. So press 1, 1, and 1. And let's go up here and make sure it's a square and press enter instead of clicking so that the height is the same as the width. And let's repeat the same command, use the sub-D from mesh, press enter, and now it converted the mesh to a sub-D object. So now we have a type of sphere. And if we want to change the scale, we can click on this handle, hold shift, and now we can increase the size. So this is the basics of sub-D. Typically you don't just create sub-D objects, you create a mesh and you convert your mesh to a sub-D object. So with that in mind, if we wanted to make modifications to this object, we can go back to a mesh. So the way we do this is we just type in the command mesh. So if you type in mesh and press enter, it will ask you, okay, how much of a mesh do you want? Do you want the mesh to be a heavier mesh? And if you do a preview, you will see what kind of results we get. And it seems like it doesn't do anything. But so if you go to the controlled options, you can make it a very dense mesh. Let me show you how this would work. Maximum edge length, if you make this very small, so let's say 0.1, and preview, and it still doesn't work. Okay. Okay, so it seems like this time it worked. So I guess it's based on the settings. So I guess you cannot use the controlled settings. When we type in mesh, if you use the, so here I can go up to maximum or minimum, it does not matter, it will always give me the same result. Actually no, it doesn't give me the same result. That's interesting. So I guess when you convert the mesh, you have to make sure that you use the fewer polygons, because you do not want the mesh to be heavy, you just want to convert the sub-D object to a mesh that you can work with. And so let me show you exactly why you would do this. So here we have this type of sphere, but if we look at the points are uniform in their distance to each other, right? Now let's say we want it to be smooth on one side but not the other. And one example of this would be if I select a face, so you can use Control Shift, select the upper face, and I can extrude it. So I can use the gumball or I can use the extrude command. I like to use the gumball because it's really straightforward, right? You can click up here and you can make it greater and you can keep on extending it. So this is one simple way to work with mesh. You can select a face, you can extend it, and you can move things around. You can use Control Shift, sub-object selection by clicking on the face, extrude by clicking on this circular handle. And let's say we want everything to be smooth, but we want this side here to remain with sharp edges. So let me show you how you would do that. You would select the mesh and let's look at the points. So if I look at the points here, I can see it's recognizing there's multiple points, right? And that's because the mesh is open. So this is an open mesh on this side. So what you want to do here is, if you want to keep a sharp edge, you want the mesh to be joined, and you want it to be open. So it's a little difficult to explain, but basically what I will do is I will go under the mesh tools, and I will make sure that all of the vertices are joined together, or all of the edges are joined together. And so one way to do that is go up here, you have this weld mesh, and you can expand it, and you can click here, or you can use the vertices. So I will click on this one and click on this object. Let's see if we can join everything up here, press enter. Let's try that again, and it doesn't work. So yeah, mesh in these softwares are very difficult to work with. So let's try to weld the vertices really quick, and it seems like it's working for the vertices. Okay, so let's try welding all of the vertices. Okay, and let's go back up here, check the edges. It seems like there's one edge up here. Okay, this time it worked. Let's look at that again, and this is what we want to see. So here it's saying we have a mesh, all of the vertices are joined correctly, so this is basically a closed watertight object, and at this end there is an opening, but the opening is, there is a face there, right? There's a face, it's just not joined together, so it's almost like a group. If you had NURBS surfaces, this would be grouped surfaces instead of joined surfaces. So as you can see, working with mesh is very different from working with NURBS, but the advantage here is you can get much smoother results, like you saw here and as you saw here with the sphere, and we can also introduce sharp edges by using this process. Now the limitation with it is that you must edit the mesh, not the not the objects when they are sub-D objects. They have to be mesh and then converted to sub-D objects. So it's a bit difficult to work this way, but it's a linear workflow, right? You work with your mesh, convert to sub-D, and you're done. Or if you need to revert, you can type in mesh and convert your polygon mesh back to the most primitive polygon layout, which just takes all of the control points, turns them into a mesh. So that's the process for working with sub-D. Now, if I click on this and I convert it to the sub-D mesh, or sub-D from mesh, here it is, click here, and so here you have two options. One is you can keep the crease, or you can say no crease. So if I say no crease, let's see what happens. It discards the information that I had here, the open edge. It discards it and makes everything smooth. So let's undo this with Ctrl Z, select this, press enter, and this time let's see what happens when we say crease with yes. So the crease is enabled, and if I press enter, now you can see it becomes flat on this edge. So this was just a quick way to show you that you can have sharp edges with this type of sub-D object. And of course at this stage you can still go back and you can edit things. You can still use the sub-object selection with Ctrl Shift, and you can continue to extrude. No, actually it looks like you cannot. That's interesting. Yeah, so it doesn't work that way. That's interesting, I didn't know that, so that's new to me. So you can move the object around, but if you try to extrude a sub-D object, then it doesn't work. So that's really interesting. What you could do is hold Ctrl Shift, and you can select a point. I guess you cannot, so you would have to show the points to do that. What I wanted to show you here is you can show the control points, and you can still edit the object this way, right, by selecting objects, and you can still scale the object using the handles on the gumball. So it's still very dynamic, right? One of the best things about this is whatever you do, you will always get smooth results. So you can do very, very complicated shapes, like think about a bike frame, the way that the frame intersects. This is difficult to model, but with SUBD it makes it very easy. And you can still have sharp edges, and you can still have a lot of control. And of course, the more, the denser the mesh, the more control you will get. So here this mesh is not very dense, so it's very easy to manipulate, but at the same time it doesn't give us too much control. So let's say we want more control. So if we want more control, we can use this other command called subdivide. Now, what you have to remember about these commands is that they don't pop up down here. So you have to memorize the command, or you have to copy it from some text, some reference. So I will give you these commands and I will give you a link, but whenever you type in some of these commands, you will have additional information, and yeah, this is very helpful. So I would suggest that you look into these commands and how they work, because this is very new, so there's not too much information about this. So please do your own research. So subd, so we have a subd object and we are subdividing. So subdividing means adding more mesh density, which, as I said before, helps you get more control. So if we subdivide it one time, we will get twice as many of a mesh. So every time we have, actually this would be better up here, every time you have these four-sided outlines of a mesh, or in this case of this object, this subd, if I use the subdivide, I will get them split into, basically one will become 4, alright? It's a halfway point, but on both the U and the V orientation. So this is what I get. So it gives me more control, more points to work with, and typically it's a little easier to work with an object that has more control points, for the sake of having more control. Now if you want to work quickly, it's better to have less points. If you want more accuracy, you will want additional points to work with. And you don't have to subdivide once, you can subdivide twice, 3 times, as many times as you want. It's infinite. So I can say 3, oh, it seems like it doesn't work. Let's see, 2, yeah, it doesn't seem to work. So I guess you can only subdivide with 2, and if you wanted more, you would have to subdivide again and again. But so you can see how you can add a lot more control, and then this gives you more points to work from, but this may be too much. It really depends on what you want to do. Like, let's say we just want to make this look like it's flat at the bottom. So I can select everything, and I can click on the green handle, type in 0, press enter, and now I just scaled all of these points to be moved at 0, so they're all flat. They have a planar relationship to one another, so it looks like it's perfectly flat, and it gives it this crisp edge at the bottom. So if I look at it with, let's say, let's go up here and let's go under Analyze, and let's look at the environment map. Let's see if it works. It doesn't seem like it works. That's interesting. I would expect it to work. So let's see what else. Can we use the zebra and get that to work? It seems like the zebra menu is not even popping up, so it looks like I'm getting a bug up here. Let's see, is it just the object, or is this an actual bug? Okay, so it's the object. Yeah. So apparently you cannot use the emap on a subd object. I did not know that either. Again, this is a very new way to work with surfaces. So That's interesting. I don't even know how you would look at this object. So I guess another way would be assign a material and then look at it that way. Now another way too would be to convert this into a Rhino NURBS surfaces. So let's do that right now. Let's select this object and we will convert it to a Rhino object. So first I will undo, actually let's keep it the way it is, that's fine. Let's just select this object and okay. Select this object, go under the command prompt, and this time we will say to NURBS. So again, this is a command that's not here by default. You have to memorize it or you have to copy it from somewhere else. Press enter and it will use the to NURBS command. So what this does here is it lets you convert the subd object back to the surface NURBS object that we typically work with in Rhino. So I can delete the input, yes, and subd option, that's fine. So press enter. And now instead of having the subd, we have these small surfaces. So it's an optimal way to replicate the form that we had with subd, but this time we have NURBS surfaces, which sometimes is better, sometimes it's not as good. It really depends on what type of object you're making. In this case, there's no value in doing this, but let's say we're sending this to someone else who cannot work with a subd object, or maybe we're sending it to a different software, so we may have to convert this type of object back to the regular NURBS surfaces that we typically use. Also, if you wanted to do a Boolean subtraction or a Boolean union, basically any of the Boolean operations, you would need NURBS surfaces in most cases. So yeah, so this is really useful. Now if I join all of these NURBS surfaces together, now I can use the these analyzing tools, so surface zebra or surface environment map. And here you can see you get very smooth results. So it is a very powerful command for creating very organic shapes. Now the downside to using this command is the lack of accuracy. This is not a perfect circle, so if you needed that to be a perfect circle, maybe this is not the right command, right? So yeah, so this is essentially how you work with subds. This is how you create sharp edges, and to get more control you would add more points. So I would like you to play around with this if you have some free time, or you can use some of the other commands if really this is not working for you. But ideally, I would like you to use subd, create organic shapes. It doesn't have to be too complex, you can keep it relatively simple. And then if you convert it back to a NURBS surface using the to NURBS, you can still use it as part of your project, right? So now we can import these surfaces and use them as part of our project. So this is really powerful for complex details. Like let's say this is some kind of handle that you have to rotate. So yeah, maybe this is a nice detail for a bigger model, and you can quickly get there by using subd, and it would be very difficult to do with regular surfaces. Maybe, I don't know. So yeah, it's up to you to create whatever you want with this, you know, with the subd modeling approach. But yeah, before I let you just play around with this, I wanted to show you another great example. So I will type in show and show you what people have done with it. So this again is a subd. So this is again a subd object, and you can see how it has this clean sharp edge. So this is the crease. And you can see how you can get very complicated surfaces, and if you tried to do this with NURBS, this would be very time consuming and very difficult. And yeah, so this should give you a much better idea of you know, the type of surfaces that you could do. And yeah, so I hope this gives you a better idea of like what you may want to do, you know, when it makes sense to use that type of surfaces, when it doesn't make sense, you know, get a better idea of like, when it is appropriate and inappropriate to use this type of surface modeling. So I hope this makes sense, and if it doesn't, that's okay too. This is very new technology. These are new commands, but I do think that you will learn a lot by playing around with this modeling process, and this is, in my opinion, a lot better than what you would do with a dock, the rubber dock assignment, because it allows you to create far more complicated shapes, and once you get more familiar with it, you can do this relatively quickly as well. So yeah, please do practice with this new feature, and try to get a feel for it.